Thank you for being here today, Linda. It's been a while since we last spoke, right? I think when we last spoke, it was over coffee, and I was looking at trying to expand my business into a franchise model, and I was trying to see if there was anything that you were doing right that I could learn from you. And thank you for that time, right? It's been really a while. I think it was in 2019, right? Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's been a while, and then COVID happened, and here we are now. The studio has opened, and I think that studio opened, but you're still keeping physical distancing. So is it half the class size that you need to keep?
Yeah, right now it's still about 30 to 40% of the original capacity before, so quite a big reduction from before.
Wow, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
right. So okay, I jump the gun there, right? Maybe we can first start off by you telling us a bit more about yourself and the business that you are in.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Well, first of all, welcome everyone, and thank you for having me on your little podcast. It's really exciting, and I didn't know that you've already had like 20 people on this podcast. So congrats to you, Alex. That's awesome work. So I'm Linda. For those who don't know me, I'm an Australian-born Chinese, but lived in Singapore for over a decade and counting, and I love it here. I'm in the world of boutique fitness. So I have a little studio called WeBarre, and it's a specialized bar studio that offers you bar classes. So that's our specialty, and we offer all types of bar classes, whether it's from more of a fundamentals or more of a cardio or more of a stretch or more of a pre and postnatal. They're basically offering that kind of group fitness class to everyone we meet. And we have 4 studios in Singapore and 1 in Hong Kong, and now also virtually. So that's probably my biggest passion and love, little baby that I have. And I'm looking forward to talking more about community and why that is so important to us and WeBarre today with you.
Thank you, Linda. Very succinct introduction. You yourself, right? Also, I mean, your social media handle is also very active. You've got a substantial amount of following. Would you say that the branding that you've portrayed as yourself or for yourself is similar to the branding that you have for WeBarre?
Yeah, I think everyone starts a business for different reasons and with different goals in mind. And when me and Annabelle started WeBarre, we really wanted it to be one, like an extension of the values and the experiences that resonated with us that we felt was good for the world, that we wanted to spread out into the world. And secondly, we wanted something that we felt like was curated in Asia for Asian consumers, because in boutique fitness a lot of things are coming from the US or Australia or UK, and while that's amazing and they're definitely more innovative and ahead of the curve when it compares to Asia, we also felt like that it was time for brands in Asia to shine. So in terms of the values and the culture we set for the company, it was a lot of what we enjoyed when we traveled around the world and we experienced different fitness classes and different studios, and what we felt like would be inclusive, what we felt like would be empowering, at the same time, like just lighthearted and fun. So those are definitely values that we've injected right from the beginning into the business that I feel like are very strong in the whole experience from start to end right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what do you understand by the term community building? Because when you first started WeBarre, I think you were the first bar or second bar studio or a brand to open in Singapore, right?
Yeah, we were the first specialized bar studio. So there was another studio who offered bar amongst other modules, but we were the first specialized one that came through. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you understand community building so what do you understand by community building
Yeah.
as a term?
I think when we started WeBarre, community, this word was thrown around all the time, right? I mean,
It
it
still
was
is
kind of like the
actually.
trend. Yeah. It's like the trendy word to use, it's like, oh, if you put community in, you can't lose, right? Like that's what everyone wants. So, so even then, 5 years ago, I felt like it was a word that was commonly thrown around, but we wanted it to very much intentionally show up through the experience. So it wasn't just an accidental word that we chucked in like a mission statement, but it was a word that people could genuinely feel from the experience with us. So even from the get-go, before we had anything tangible, we wrote out the values that we wanted to incorporate. And one of the words was community. But it wasn't just the word. We actually went deeper and said, what does community mean to us? And it was about people empowering people, not just us empowering our clients, but also our clients empowering each other, and having that amplify through the spirit of the studio. That could mean, having a Taylor Swift theme class and someone next to you also likes Taylor Swift in the class and they're singing along, and then you're like, hey, we both like Taylor Swift, and you start talking and you start building a friendship, or maybe you start becoming accountability buddies, coming to bar together, whatever it is. It was nurturing those little things through little acts into our business. Something really simple is when we start the class and we finish the class, we all face towards each other. And even that gesture, you'll feel differently walking away from that class versus a class where it's very more inward, or you kind of just look at the mirror, or more at your own form. So even that little intentional, like how we injected that into the method made a difference to how people felt when they walked away.
Wow, that is this very, very well thought out community strategy, right? And was it difficult, to have this on the get-go, or to start building that in the first place? Because I'm sure all of these processes or rituals, if you would want to call it, right, were new, right, to the people coming for class.
Yeah, definitely it was honed throughout time. And I think the beauty of me and my partner Annabelle is that we are constantly looking at what we can improve on. We're constantly looking at outside inspiration and how we can inject more and more, because we don't want to stay still. We want to keep growing and keep innovating. But at the beginning, definitely, I think first of all, Barre was new, so no one knew what a Barre class was, so we had to educate about that. And then two, introducing a brand new brand to the market. So it wasn't like, let's say F45, you already have some associations of what that is, and it's about like everyone hustling together, and it's like a party, and so if you launch at F45, you already have those associations. But we were crafting a brand new thing from scratch. So I think that was definitely challenging on how we were going to bring that quality to life. And I come from a branding background, so I'm very passionate about this. I studied marketing, I did brand management, I worked in consumer goods like FMCG brand management. So, and what we are taught is really point of difference and consistency. Like that is so important. You really need to hone that one thing you are differentiated about, and you got to keep going and keep reminding people, because that's the only way people will know what you stand for and how they resonate with that and come to you because you're known for that. So I guess at the beginning, it was a lot about educating, creating awareness, and really being consistent. I think it's very easy in this startup world. You do something, you're like, oh, I don't know if it works, and you pivot and you change. And it's very easy to like chop and change very quickly. But of course, we tested our concept, we did market research and all that. But once we felt like, yes, we have a winning proposition, we really wanted to be consistent in how we executed that. And I felt like that consistency over time helped us build that association with community and WeBarre. And of course, that comes out in all different ways, right? Whether it's even in the way that our brand is, it's a circle and the we and then bar. And even just a circle, it symbolizes like community, symbolizes like a cycle, empowering people that, keeps going full circle. So even that little intentional design helped us build community. So yeah, I would say it's just like consistency, and you got to keep communicating that until it sticks.
And would you say that, the community is specific to the different studios that you have, or is there a larger WeBarre community, or do you see community as the larger bar community, or even larger than that, the boutique fitness community?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I feel like there are so many different types of exercise, and we're in this business ultimately to help empower people to be fit, to feel confident, and to walk away feeling like they invested 1 hour in themselves and they feel happier, they feel more satisfied because of it. So I think everyone that is doing that purpose is amazing, and the pie is big enough that we all share that pie. So definitely as a sentiment, I feel we want to empower the entire population of people who want to be fit, right? And I think that's why you and I are in this industry, and that's why we're so passionate about it. Of course, people who do the exercise, do our class, they'll be able to, oh yeah, I went to this class, or how was that instructor? I really like this thing. And, you know, they're able to communicate and bond through that. But I also see now that boutique fitness is so booming that a lot of people who might do different types of boutique fitness can become really good friends, because there's still a lot of similarities in what boutique fitness offers, which is that close-knit community and that personalized experience. So I feel now versus 5 years ago, definitely boutique fitness as a whole has become a lot more of a solid, close-knit community. And I think studio to studio, hopefully, you know, we're trying to spread that energy of being collaborative and being supportive of each other, that our clients hopefully will see that as well. And then we collaborate with a lot of other studios and we learn from each other. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, like we're all friends with similar studio owners in the industry, and we all share and learn from each other. So I feel when we do that at the, you know, owner level, of course, the community will also feel that spirit of sharing and empowering one another as well.
Nice, nice. And would you say, so you've talked a lot about the WeBarre brand as a whole and how WeBarre builds community, but how important do you think it is for the instructor to be passing on those values to the class or the students, and what makes an instructor good at building community as well? I mean, you've come across many, I'm sure, in the 4 years that you there are some that maybe are not so good, and maybe you need to tell them, I don't think this is the profession for you. You should be trying something else.
Yeah, I mean, an instructor can be good in many different ways, right? So an instructor can be very technically good, like they know their cues, they are able to get you in the optimal form really quickly. Some people could be really relatable and people just feel like not intimidated, they feel like they're very nurturing. And some people could be very energetic. I mean, there's so many different reasons why an instructor can be good. So for me, it's just about finding the right team members for WeBarre that is the best fit both ways. You know, I feel strongly that we're looking for someone that fits us, but they're also looking for an employer that fits them. And it should work both ways. And that's when the magic happens, when it works both ways. So definitely once we had these values in place that we really wanted to be consistent and grow with, we were very, very intentional in the way we hired as well. Because if they didn't tick off these values that we wanted the business to represent, then it's maybe not the right fit for us and for them, because they will feel like it's trying for them and we will feel like it's just not quite exactly what we want. So of course, in the hiring process, in the interview process, even just looking at them as a vibe of a person, you know, do they really have that kindness? Do they have that openness? You know, and not everyone has to be like bubbly and in your face, but, you know, do they have that inclusive spirit? You know, and I think that can be seen in a lot of examples, or when you chat with someone and you can just feel if their energy is open to that. So one, I think hiring is super important, and knowing what kind of values that person you would like them to bring to life, because that's the easiest. If you already live and breathe that value, of course, it's going to feel like it's not a job anymore. It's just something where you're expressing that you already believe in, and that's like the best fit. So definitely when we hire instructors, or even our front of house, like every person that works here, I think should hopefully resonate with those values. And that's why they're attracted to us. A lot of the times people that we do hire, they do knock on our doors versus us going to search for them, because I feel through their personal experience with us or through what they hear from their friends, if they feel like that is a company I want to work with and I want to be a part of, then they're the best fit for us.
That's
Even
nice.
if technically they need a bit more work, that can be taught, but that value and that resonating with that's not something you can fake, right? So those are the qualities we look for.
Nice, nice. And has it been challenging trying to build community from the beginning? I know it's your community strategy, it's your brand strategy, but what is a good runway, you know, or what was the runway that for you to have to identify, okay, after the 3-month mark, after the 6-month mark, finally we're seeing some engagement, some growth, and the community is starting to be built and starting to show?
I think at the beginning, our priority was to generate awareness and educate, because people, they don't know what Barre is. Even if you have the best culture, they probably won't come and try out your service. So I think our number one priority at the beginning was to educate and generate awareness, but in the way that we would bring to life our values as well, like community. That wasn't like the number one thing we did, like community, but it was more like, did you know brand is like this? And maybe when we talked about that, we showed visuals of people together. We try not to have too many single people. It's not about me, myself, and I, but it's about us together as a collective. So even intentional things like that to try to, I guess, subconsciously bring it to life when we were focusing on educating the market about Barre. And I think a lot of it is also in the first batch of instructors and team that we hired, because that first batch, Annabelle and I literally handpicked every single one of them. We had coffee with each one. We sat down and we really got a feel of that vibe, and we really nurtured them. We worked out together every week, like in someone's condo or at the park. And, we really generated a very strong friendship. And I would say like now, even today, that first group, we're still very tight. And I think that's the way we set the tone at the beginning. And I think that makes a huge difference. So if you're starting out a new business, I think your founding members, don't underestimate it. Just because, if they're not a top level strategy person, doesn't mean that, even if there's someone as your front of house, it's just as important that they resonate with the values you want to bring to life. Because at the beginning, that's all people, have that experience to see.
Do you have instructors or people in the team that have been with you from day one, apart from
Yes.
you and Annabelle?
Yeah, we do. So our first batch of instructors, we trained 8, including Annabelle and I. So then other than that, we still have 2 that is with us. One moved overseas, one had 2 babies, and one started his own business. And then the other one is Hiren, who launched our Hong Kong studio.
Oh.
So actually, we're still very close with all of them. And yeah, it's amazing watching them slay life and what they're up to now.
Well, that's a community in itself already, right? With the founding members and how they are expanding the WeBarre network. Wow, that's a nice story to hear. And so I know you talked about we talked about instructors, right? And every instructor is different. There are some brands where they would want to hire every instructor is the same. It's cookie cutter, right? But but sometimes it's inevitable because different people come to work out and different people like different instructors. Some people like some that are more nurturing, like you mentioned. Some people like some that are a little bit stricter, no nonsense, right? So is that something that, which is the way that you go for when you hire for instructors?
I totally agree that everyone has a different preference in the kind of instructor vibe that they would gravitate to, and that they would feel more comfortable or more motivated to work out with, definitely. And we always said from the beginning, you don't have to have everyone love you, but as long as you have your own following and you have a vibe that attracts your own following, that's good, because we do want a wide variety. And I think even now when we talk to clients who come in, we're always like, what kind of vibe do you like? Some Asians, they want to be punished. They're like, I want someone that's going to tell me what to do and make sure I deliver, like, come on, give me 10 or whatever, like army style. And then you have some people who are like, oh my God, that would frighten the crap out of me. I just want someone who's like nice to me, take it easy. I haven't exercised in ages. Or someone's like, maybe I just want someone that makes me laugh. I just want someone that like tells me some jokes throughout the class and has great music and, great energy. So everyone is different. And I think it's great to have a very diverse group of instructors. At the same time, they must resonate with your brand, right? It doesn't mean that they resonate with community, but they're all the same. They all experience community or resonate in their own different way. I mean, one person's community could be like she has a one-on-one conversation, like coffee with someone. One person's community could be like they meet up in a big group and they have like a big party. Everyone's community is different, and there's no right or wrong. So yeah, I'm all up for diversity, and I love a wide range of different instructors.
Nice. And how have you been measuring, the success of the community that you've been building in all this while? Is it a number of people coming for class thing? Is it a social media following thing? Maybe you could share a little bit about that.
This is hard. Measuring community. I mean, I don't think there's an app or a program that's come out yet that's like we can measure your percentage of community engagement, you know? I mean, there are lots of different things that can be a subset of community, like sure, like how much someone engages with your social media posts, or how many people become friends with each other at your studio, you know? There are all these little ways, I guess, but I would say when I ask clients why they come to WeBarre, I typically get two answers, very consistent two answers. One would be because the method is really effective and they really enjoy it, right? So they have a lot of fun, the hour passes really fast, and they see the results. Second one, I get in different wordings, but the gist is the feeling they get in their happy place. And it's not like I can't put a word or one line to it, and everyone describes it differently, but it would be something to the lines of, you know, I love how it makes me feel, or I just feel like, oh, I've had a long day, but it's like my happy place. And it's just the energy I get from the instructors. And so I feel that would be the second most popular reason why people come. It's because they really feel like this 1 hour is full of good vibes. They feel good, they feel comfortable, and they feel just, you know, they had a little sparkle in their day, you know, with whatever else they had to do that day. So I feel like that for me is not like maybe a number, like how many people told me that, but as a general feel, because I am so close to the business, where I feel the community is very strong, you know, because of that. So yeah, I don't have like a percentage or a measurement, but I would say if you're close to your business and you just ask your clients, you'll get a good feel if community is alive or not.
Okay, so it's more of a feeling thing. It's being on the ground and understanding how the clients are responding to classes and feeling the vibe, right, and the
Yeah.
energy of the space.
Yeah. I mean, even things like people making friends with each other that weren't friends before, or people who, you know, post about us and said, oh, I hung up with this person, you know, we used to just do bar together. Now we also do this. Yeah, or it could just be the feeling when I teach a class of how the energy is in the room. It could even be someone who's never met someone, but they're helping them, right? I've had a client before who, you know, one client was like, oh, I don't know how to do this move. And the other client who's never met him before was, oh, why don't you try this and try that? And that's like a stranger, but that to me is still an element of community, empowering someone you may or may not know, you know, and that's the kind of energy we attract.
And is that a conscious, effort? So, I mean, with the franchise model that you adopt with the growth of the business, let's say somebody in Australia, right, who want to open a WeBarre there, how would you describe, or would you give them the blueprint, to say, okay, these are the things that you must do this is the community building strategy for WeBarre
Yeah.
wherever you're opening. Yeah, are there
Yeah.
key things that you would want to be focusing on?
Mm.
Mm.
First and foremost, it's the partner you choose, first and foremost, because if they, again, it's not something you can fake. So it's, if you don't have it authentically, then it's very hard to inject it into your team and inject it into the experience. So I think it's so much about the person you partner with, first and foremost, and seeing them through multiple scenarios. It can't just be like one chat. It has to be like, we actually hang out together and we maybe have a few drinks together, and you have to really see that person for who they are. And I think in this business, Annabelle and I, we are so passionate and we are so proud of what we created. It's not about just blindly spreading it for financial gains, but it's really about staying true to what the purpose was at the beginning. So I think if I were to franchise it to another country, let's say Australia, it would be first of all that person. Do I feel that they resonate with the similar values? And then after that, so many things. I mean, I think like what I told you about, like in the class, like that intentional effort to face inwards, in all of our SOPs. Yes, a lot of it is feeling, but there's a lot of things written in the SOPs which also bring it to life. How our front of house greets, how they welcome, how they introduce. We always try to give the client as much airtime with the instructor as possible before they enter the class. So if they're new, we get the instructor to introduce themselves and show them around and like ask them what are their goals, what are their barriers, what are they, what have their challenges been. And I think it's so many aspects of the business. Basically, you can't underestimate any part of the business when it comes to injecting a value in. So yeah, all the SOPs, all your marketing material, all your collateral, that energy you send out is what you're going to draw back to the brands you work with and collaborate with. to training your instructors. Even the way we train our instructors is to inject community. So it is really every part of the business that you have to inject it in. So blueprint, I mean, I think it's there throughout the whole onboarding process and in all of our documents. But again, comes back to that consistency. So you can't say do these 4 things and leave these 4 things out. I feel like it has to be there from start to end.
I think it's from what I hear, it's a very, very conscious effort. It's built in the blueprint, right? And it's difficult to pinpoint specific things exactly. Yeah, and wow, it's very, very, very well thought out, right? So you're the first business or first person that I've spoken to that really has put so much thought into community, because it
Yay.
is part of the value chain and it's also part of the brand. Right, a lot of people are building it organically. Like I didn't know, I don't know. So happened that this happened. Right. So yeah, but for you, it's very 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 conscious effort. So yeah, kudos to the good work with that. Right. Yeah. And
Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate that recognition. I mean, yeah, like I said, it was thrown around so much when we started, and we really wanted to make it intentional, and I think that has paid off. So great. I'm glad that
yeah, so
that
if
panned out.
anybody wants to pay money, for a franchise to build community, WeBarre is the one that you should get into.
That's it.
Is there though a limit, right, to the amount that you want to grow the community? I know you talked about, the partner has to be right, but even then, let's say locally, if you were to open another, now you're on 4, maybe you double it to 8. But is there a limit to the community? And we also talked about community being, is that your existing clientele, right, or is that the larger fitness community or boutique fitness going community?
Mm, it's limitless. I mean, you're talking about people connection. People connection is limitless. I
Mm.
mean, you could get to know someone on so many different levels in so many different ways. So it's really how deep you want to go or how broad you want to go. So for me, really, it is limitless. And when we first started, we did a lot of more, I guess, wider reach things like on social media and whatnot. But I think now that we are more of a structured business, we do a lot more like one-to-one engagement of community. So we really try to make every single person that comes in who is new feel welcome, because we underestimate how intimidating it is to go sign up to a brand new studio for the first time, and how they feel like, oh, everyone knows each other but I'm new and like I don't know where to go or like where to put my stuff. And I feel like we underestimate that. So now our focus is really making that first timer feel very comfortable, answering any queries they have, and making them feel like they are safe and they are part of this community that we have. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think it is limitless. It is just about what you want to focus on at what point in time. So maybe when you first start out, you just want to get that value out and you want to get people to relate you to that community. And now I feel like we've already established that. So now I want to go deep, which is why I'm doing more one-on-one and really empowering the team. So now we have training all the time with the team on, what kind of language do we use to be more inclusive? What kind of sentence structure would allow someone to feel like they want to continue talking to you versus they feel like, oh, you're just talking off like a SOP, versus actually genuinely wanting to get to know someone. So now we're like working on trainings like that. And of course we do a lot of team bonding as well. It starts from the top down. So, I mean, now we can't, but before we used to do a quarterly catch up with the entire team. And we would do like different random things. Like sometimes we would go to an escape room. We've had like just drinks. And I think it starts from top down, right? If people feel like we're close as a team, then naturally we want to inject that into the clients that come through the door. So limitless, it just depends what you want to focus on. Is it broad? Is it deep? Is it a specific market? Is it a specific area you want to link to community? Yeah, and then kind of figure your way through that.
And what I picked out from that is the training, right? So because of the interaction that the senior top management founders, co-founders have with the instructors and the team, there is a lot of training going on, and there because of that, there is also a lot of mentoring and coaching that you do, right? And with that, the values of community automatically get rubbed off, Right, and yeah, so this is a good strategy. I was going to ask, one of the questions, but I think you might have answered it along the way. How do you engage? How do you engage? What platforms do you use? And I guess it's social media, right? And one-on-one, which is
Yeah.
something that you're focusing.
One-on-one. Yeah,
Yeah,
one-on-one is a big one. I think being boutique, you have that advantage. So that's the advantage of boutique. So you really need to not just be another number that scans in and out in a studio, but actually be someone that we recognize, we know, and we're here to help you with your goals and your needs. And, that includes your fitness needs, but that also includes making you feel like this 1 hour was spent in a happy place. So you walk away feeling a little lighter and a little better. So yeah, and I just want to touch on that training part, because I feel that we can't just expect people to know what words to use or what open-ended questions to use to make it feel more inviting, because it is quite an art as well. It doesn't come naturally to everyone. And maybe someone has the good intention and then they really love this idea of community, but they don't know how to have their body language work, or don't know how to, sometimes the tiny littlest tweak can make a huge difference. And so yeah, so I mean, I think as long as you have the intention and you're open to learning, which, hopefully in our studio, we really nurture this continuous education as a priority, that, yeah, you can really hone into those skills as well to really bring to life that openness and that inclusiveness.
excellent. Yeah, that's very good point. Definitely something that I will highlight in the interview. Right. We're coming almost to the end of the session already, right? And maybe we could end off with some tips, that you would want to give for business owners, wanting to come out to start a boutique business, and blind spots, right? That maybe you didn't anticipate, and if you were to share, people might be able to avoid these blind spots.
Yeah. So tips, I would say, is if you want community to be a part of your DNA, define what community means to you, to your brand. Because just because another brand community means they gather all the time doesn't mean that it has to be that for you to mean community. So I guess don't have it just be a word you put on the wall for sake, and really understand how does it tangibly come to life in your brand and in the way consumers interact with your product or service. Understand that and intentionally think about how to plug it in. So it's not just by accident, but it was an intentional choice. So that would be my tip. And do an elevator speech on it, like write a paragraph. If someone to ask you, what does community mean to your brand? How would you describe that it comes to life, and how is it different to you than it is to every other brand who says community is important to them as well? So I think that would be my number one tip. Understand that and how that would come to life. Blind spots. I mean, we talked about hiring and having your team have that same spirit. And sometimes you interview someone and you think they have that spirit, but then after they've been with you for a while, maybe the fit is not the right fit. And I would say that after nearly 5 years of doing this, that really take your time hiring, hire slow. And if you feel that it is not right, to fire fast. And it sounds like quite brutal, but the way I see it now is I want to protect my company and I want to protect everyone in this company. And if it's not a good fit for that person, it's going to be as uncomfortable for me as it is for them on that side. So if for some reason, 3 months in, 6 months in, you find someone that you feel like, hey, I thought she was really bringing this value to life, but actually I see like a few little things that have kind of started leaking into the business. If they're in the business, then it's very common, clients will see that behavior, or other staff will see that that behavior is okay. And very easily it will start to dribble into the rest of your business or people. So I would say like now as a first entrepreneur, of course, you kind of don't want to make these hard decisions. It's so hard to let someone go. And maybe it's just having a frank conversation and saying, do you feel comfortable here? Is this the right fit for you? Do you really feel these values are genuine to your DNA as well? And having that conversation. So don't drop them just like that. Of course, deal with empathy, deal with kindness, and talk to them. And it's not that they're not good at their craft. Maybe they're amazing at their craft. Maybe just that fit is just not the best fit. So that's probably something that I've learned over the years. And that someone could do exceptionally well somewhere else, but maybe just not be the right fit for WeBarre. So that would be my tip and blind spot.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Linda. It's been amazing. Very very insightful conversation and good tips, and as well as for the blind spot, right? Yeah. So with that, thank you very much, and we will see you soon.